Hello everybody, this is Chris again. In today's video, which like my previous video about suffering will be informal, I want to discuss another topic that, like suffering, is very difficult for a lot of Christians to comprehend and to ponder, and that's the question of how far are each of us willing to go for the cause of Christ and for the sake of the gospel. And I don't like thinking about this question either, but I truly believe that each of us is going to have to think long and hard about this. And the reason why I think that is the direction our culture is headed in, uh, and Islamic terrorism's running rampant right now in the Middle East and Europe, and it's even come to our shores as well. It's in Africa, it's in Asia, but just in general, we live in a culture of death. And not only do we have war going on around the world, violence, suicide bombings, we have mass killings, we have abortion that's running rampant, we have violence and sex and just the degradation of the human person that's always on, it seems like on so many TV shows and in so many movies now. And we just have this culture of where the individual human, the dignity of the human person that each of us has, our infinite human dignity from God, that's being tossed aside. And additionally, in the United States and in other Western countries now, marriage is no longer thought of as just being between a man and a woman. It's now can be between two men or two women, and probably it's going to be expanded even further than that in the coming years. And so Christian values are being tossed aside, and it's plain as day to see this. So we have to think long and hard about the reality that we face now. If we are truly willing to stand for Christ and willing to stand for the gospel, we have to accept the fact that we are going to face persecution. Could be that being fired from jobs, not being hired for a job, being eschewed by friends, facing legal repercussions, even fines and imprisonment. And it could even come to red martyrdom, to suffering our lives for the cause of the gospel. But we really have to think about this because Christ, as we know, Christ said in the gospel, anyone who loves his father and mother more than me is not worthy of me. And if you love me, you will obey my commands. And he said, take up your cross and follow me. So Christ did not say following would be easy. He did not say it would bring us popularity. In fact, quite the opposite. He said it would be difficult and would bring us persecution and suffering. And, I know we've heard this before, most likely, most of us had. But we really have to understand that that's a reality we face now. It's a reality I face. It's a reality no matter where we are, what we do for a living, our individual circumstances. We have to be willing to endure that in order to persevere in our love of Christ. And that's not to say that all of us are going to face martyrdom. No, we might face, just the simple sacrifice, simple suffering, but some of us are. And much prayer is needed now, much sacrifice, much penance. So I think we just need to we really need to take a long and hard look at this. We need to truly ask God to give us the courage and the wisdom to understand this reality and to, above all, to persevere in loving Him and serving Him and serving others. Last week, I don't know, most of you all probably heard on the news, there was an American soldier killed in Iraq fighting ISIS. His name was Joshua Wheeler. Been in the Army 20 years, had 11 Bronze Stars, just incredible, 14 deployments, incredible sacrifices this man had made. And he sacrificed his life for his brothers in arms and for the Kurdish soldiers he was fighting alongside to defeat a great and terrible evil like ISIS, and to free 70 hostages who were about to be executed by ISIS. And it really struck me, if he was willing to do that, to go through all that, to lay down his life for his brothers, surely we as Christians can do those little sacrifices each day. We can set aside time each day for prayer, for reading the Bible, for those acts of charity for others, really for our time for God and for loving others as God has loved us. And I don't know if you all have heard of Father Larry Richards. He's amazing. Definitely look him up on YouTube. He said something that really struck me in a video once. He said, all of us set aside time every day to eat. All of us have time to go to the bathroom, to talk to people, to do those things that we have to get done. Yet how many of us set aside time every single day for prayer? And if we're not setting aside time for prayer, if we're not doing that every day of our lives, we're basically telling God is, God, I love food, I love my friends, I love my life more than I love you. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the reality of it, because what could be more important than our relationship with God and prayer, our prayer life, our communion with God? Nothing. That's the answer. Nothing is more important, as Christ said. So we need to be vigilant and we need to be ruthless, really, in making sure that we are placing God number one each day of our lives, that we are doing everything, even the small things in life, as St. Therese of Lisieux said, doing the little things with great love. We need to make sure that everything we do every day is done full of love for God. Even the mundane things like, mowing the lawn or doing laundry or washing the dishes or, changing the diapers of your baby. All this has to be done through love and in love. So this is important as it relates to sacrifice and to suffering for the sake of Christ, because if we are doing all the things in our life full of love, if we have that solid foundation, that solid relationship with Christ, and we're doing everything full of love for Him, when those difficult times come, when the suffering comes, the ostracization comes, when we are going to really have to face pain for the cause of Christ, we will be able to do so in love and in humility. So that's really the important thing. The important thing is not to overthink it and to think, well, am I really going to have the courage to face any persecution? The answer is no, you will not. None of us will. But Christ will give you those graces too. So, yeah, as I said, we need to think about that. We need to pray about it. And I'll discuss this more in later videos. But for now, please just take that before God in prayer and ask God to give you that courage, and take a long, hard look at yourself. I need to do that, and all of us need to do that, and say, how far am I willing to go to defend the truth, defend those hard truths that society has pushed aside? And know that I will be praying for each of you, and God